Reaction to Rodney Smith's shocking salary request. The tourism minister says all can apply for gaming operator licenses. A fired NIB chairman defends the fired gaming board chairman, plus raising breast cancer awareness. We've got those stories and a whole lot more coming up tonight. I'm Bonnie Toot and NB12 starts now. Topping news tonight, the president of the Union of Tertiary Educators is defending Dr. Rodney Smith amid mounting criticisms over his salary request. More than a month after Cabinet reportedly confirmed Smith as the choice for COB's next president, we understand he is asking for an annual salary of $400,000. Union President Mark Hume said today that's reasonable.
Irrational, outrageous, and laughable are just some of the words UTEP President Mark Humes used to describe the criticisms being thrown at incoming College of the Bahamas President Dr. Rodney Smith. On Monday, the Nassau Guardian's National Review revealed that Smith, in his salary negotiations with the College of the Bahamas, requested a salary of $400,000 per year with a yearly increment of $100,000. Free National Movement Chairman Darren Cash called Smith's demands shocking and asserted that he should not be given the position. However, Hume says the fingers should instead be pointed at college officials who should have negotiated his salary before announcing Smith was selected.
You approve Dr. Smith, you appoint him, you name him, and then after that's done, you sit down to negotiate with him. I don't understand how that works in the business world, but I'm thinking that when you are hiring somebody, you sit and discuss these things before you hire them. And to me, that's outrageous. That's irrational.
Back in 2005, Smith was asked to resign after admitting to plagiarism. For that, he reportedly received a $300,000 settlement. Now, if given the $400,000 salary, Smith's pay would be at least 3 times more than the Prime Minister's take-home pay, 5 times more than the police commissioner's salary, and more than twice the salary of COB's most recent president, Betsy Vogel-Bose. Hume says internationally, that sounds about right.
But if you look at these things logically, you'll find, and you do the research, you'll find that the president of the College of the Bahamas making more than the national leader or the commissioner of police would not be unusual in most countries.
According to the UTEP president, about $150,000 of that $400,000 Smith proposed is actually for an endowment fund at the college.
So if he's starting off, if he's starting off at $400,000, in essence, he's given $150,000 back to the college. Then his base salary is actually only $250,000. If we hold him to what he says he's going to do, then his base salary actually will only be $250,000.
Hume says it's normal for a person to ask for how much they think they're valued, and Smith, he thinks, is worth the $400,000.
Dr. Smith was partly responsible in his short time for us having Chapter 1 bookstore and I think owning the Michael Eldon building. Dr. Smith was responsible for building that band shell that no other president who came after has been able to sort of utilize because it wasn't their vision. Dr. Smith has done more in the short time that he was here than any other president that came after.
Hume says a good education comes with a price, and COB should be willing to pay that price. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe has insisted that all Bahamians are invited to apply for gaming house operator licenses, despite concerns that operators would only be able to apply in response to a formal invitation. In an interview with NB12 today, Wilshcombe said the request for proposal will go out shortly after gaming legislation is gazetted early next month.
Everybody's invited. You're invited. Everybody's invited. Anybody can apply for it, you know.
Oh, okay.
It's just that you have to be able to meet the scrutiny of the RFP. Any Bahamian can apply.
Despite concerns that government would issue requests for proposal to a limited number of web shop operators to apply for licenses, Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe insisted everyone is invited to apply. According to the new gaming bill, a gaming house operator license must be applied for only in response to a formal invitation to apply for such licenses issued by the board and advertised in the prescribed manner in the Gazette. However, Wilshcombe says the fact that the invitation is being gazetted indicates it is a public offering.
The RFPs will go out after the Gazette, after the legislation is gazetted, and I think that's going to be early next month. And once that's done, then they'll have a period of time in which to, I think it's 14 days after it's gazetted, to receive an RFP, and then we'll give a period of time in which they must report and have the RFPs returned to us, and then the process begins.
Wilshcombe, who has ministerial responsibility for the gaming board, says government plans to shut down any web shop operator who does not agree to the request for proposal.
There'll be a closure period after the RFPs are done. For those persons who are not participating, they'll have to close immediately. Those persons who are participating will have to have a sworn affidavit on certain conditions, and they must be met. Those conditions must be met. If they're not met, then they'll have to close.
And how will we be able to close them, considering we've never closed web shops before?
Because the law demands it's closed now.
The tourism minister has said government is considering awarding 8 operator licenses. Operators invited to apply will be required to pay a non-refundable $100,000 deposit for a gaming house operator license, in addition to $30,000 for each gaming house premises license they apply for. Wilshcombe says officials have not yet decided whether there will be a closure period for operators who receive licenses.
We're not sure yet. In fact, we'll have to work that through because, of course, a number of things that have to be introduced, and the technology has to be integrated.
Right.
Don't forget, our technology will have to integrate with their technology to make sure we can monitor. So all these things will have to be looked at. There is no fixed position on that yet. Because, of course, we're walking through a new paradigm. And as we do that, we have to understand what we're doing. What you don't want to do is commit yourself to certain things that you can't live up to. What's certain is that the law will be carried out and that we will ensure that the integrity of the gaming industry is maintained.
Meantime, 2 gaming consultants engaged by the Christie administration ahead of the regulation and taxation of the web shop industry are expected to arrive in the Bahamas as early as next week. Wilshcombe says consultants from the United States and England will spend the next year in the Bahamas guiding the government on certain aspects of gaming and training 100 new employees.
They'll be guiding us in certain things, the regulations, the monitoring of the system, some technology that we've never used before to monitor what goes on in our casinos, and also how do we integrate that with what's happening in the web shops, because most of it is going to be now monitored technologically. Will help us in getting further. And then the regulations, we have to make sure that certain new regulations relevant to the international agencies as it relates to money laundering, as the banks do.
Wilshcombe says those consultants will also ensure the necessary anti-money laundering regulations are in place to satisfy international agencies.
You're talking about the whole process of the concerns raised by international agencies as relates to money laundering. You're talking about ensuring that we are accounting for all that's being earned in the casinos and all that's being earned in the web shops, because it's predicated upon taxes. So a number of things that will be put in place, and so they will be helping us in preparing our people.
It's not the first time the Christie administration has hired gaming consultants. South African and UK-based consultants were engaged prior to the 2013 gambling referendum. As the Progressive Liberal Party's National General Council awaits a public apology from embattled Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins, Marco City MP Greg Moss is coming to the former gaming board chairman's defense.
And when you come into this arena, you must come into this with the knowledge that there will be some very focused attention brought to bear on all that you do. You have to come into it with thick skins and broad shoulders, and you must come into it with the idea of service. And so, to my mind, I don't see anything exceptional or damaging in what Mr. Rollins has said, Dr. Rollins has said. I see him as having expressed his opinion, and I think either the party and the country are matured enough to understand that there's freedom of expression or they're not. And to my mind, those are non-issues, and we move on.
Rollins addressed the NGC last week Thursday, and a 4-person committee has been appointed to determine what, if any, sanctions he should face. Ma says how the party decides to handle this situation will determine its maturity as an organization.
I think the manner in which the expression of opinion by any member of the public, but especially by elected members of parliament, the manner in which those expressions are dealt with reflect on the democracy and the democratic leaning, not just of the party, but of the country. If those expressions were made in, say, the United States, I don't think anyone would have found those exceptional in any way. And to the extent that we are ranting and raving over them, I think speaks somewhat critically of the level of maturity we still have to aspire to in our politics.